All right, Bryn, ready for another session?
I am, yes.
Awesome. We're going to talk a little bit more about marketing today. And last time, hopefully people go check this out. We talked about building segments and lists of data to use. But today, let's talk about how we can use that data. So, like creating assets, how do people get in lists, all those various things. Where would you like to start?
Let's start with talking a little bit about, I think in our last video, we talked a good amount about our audience. So the who of like who we're targeting when we're talking about marketing campaigns or marketing lists. So today, I think I might like to start us off by looking at in customer insights journey speak, they call it channels, but really the marketing content, right? So like what are we creating? What are we working with inside of our marketing app to build some of these journeys out?
That makes sense. And just a dumb question, but content is emails, but what else would it be? What would content be?
Yes. So good question. Great question. So if you look under channels here on this left-hand navigation pane, you can see front and center, right? Very top of the list is emails, because that's most likely going to be where a lot of our marketing efforts are located as far as marketing content goes. So we'll walk through how to create some emails. There are some other options in here, though, as far as content goes. So you have forms, which are literal data entry. So if I have a form that I want to host on my website, enter your information here to get a download, enter your information here if you'd like to learn more. You can actually build that form in Customer Insights Journeys and then host it natively on your website as well. So,
That's nice. I get asked that question a lot from prospects because
yes.
that'll just like feed right into Dynamics then for future follow-ups.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So it's going to put your web content in direct connection. There's no need for an integration. It's literally going to take the prospect or lead data that you have entered into your website and immediately create that contact or that lead record in CRM so that your sales team can start working those leads as soon as somebody enters that data into the system. So very
That's a
cool.
huge time saver. I know a lot of customers will have those forms go to an email box and someone has to manage those emails and then sort through them and manually enter them into a CRM if they even have a CRM. So that's a
Yes.
huge time saver.
Yeah, exactly. And especially, if that person's out of the office or if they have other responsibilities and those emails kind of like drop to the bottom of the list. Like we all
Yeah.
know the sooner that we can reach
Oops.
out to a prospect, the sooner that we can get in front of a lead, someone's telling us they're interested in our product, the sooner that we can get into contact with them, obviously, the better. It is a really cool feature. I think if we want to take a look at forms, we could do an entire call, really, just talking about building those forms out, how you host them, if you host them natively through marketing, if you put them on our website. So there's a lot to cover there. We could do, honestly, a whole call about if anybody's interested. Let us know, I guess, in the comments.
Yeah, I think that's a great call out. So maybe take the chance right now to subscribe to the channel because we're going to be putting out more content. And if you really want to see a specific piece of functionality that we don't cover, put a comment down below or hit us up on LinkedIn so we know. We're going to be making more of these videos. So we're here for you to answer your questions. But moving on to the next thing, what's a push notification?
Another great question. So this push notifications aren't going to be for everybody necessarily. We don't have an app personally, but if we did have an app or if your company has an app, you can actually send out push notifications via your app to folks' phones. Microsoft, for example, if we're using our Microsoft account, I could send a push notification directly to your CRM app or to any app that you've personally built out for your company.
That's really interesting. I would guess it's probably beyond the scope of most of our SMB customers, but maybe a future, if someone is interested, we could talk about in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to the next one, that looks actually pretty obvious. So
Yes.
you can actually send out text messages through Dynamics Marketing.
You sure can. So that's one of the great new updates that we'll be talking about because we're in real time marketing now. So the first version of the marketing app was outbound marketing. Some people might still be in an older version of the app that doesn't contain the real time features. So if you don't see this, it's likely that you'll need an update if you're using marketing already. But this is a great new feature as far as the real time marketing side goes. You can text your contacts, you could text leads if you have leads in the system, you could text account information. So it's a very cool feature. But yeah, we'll walk through maybe an example of how to build one of those out as well.
I think that's huge. I think what I see, I mean, the demographics are shifting for buyers now. And so more
Yeah.
and more people, at least in my view of the world, are on their mobile phone. And it's getting more common to see businesses that you work with text message you about important things like sales or promotions or changes, product updates, things like that. So I think that's really good that Microsoft added that feature.
Exactly. Yeah, it's really nice too. You can do things even as far as cart notifications. Or if somebody's left an item in their cart for a couple of days, you could send like a quick, hey, 10% off if you place your order in the next hour. So it's again, it's about getting in front of your customers in real time, as opposed to just say, we're sending out an email every 3 months, right? We want these interactions to be based on our customers' behavior and also like reaching them at the point of, it's most likely that they're going to make a purchase, right?
As you were talking through that, I think it's a natural place to talk about what if I wanted to opt out? Does Microsoft make it easy with the customer insights to opt out? Because there's a lot of vendors who send me a lot of text messages, and I'm like,
Yeah.
no, thank you. I know where to go to find your information. So can you opt out pretty easily?
You can, yes. If we look right above, actually, in audience, there is a consent center
Mm,
that is available in Customer Insights Journeys by default. So that's where you would go through and actually set up, how do we want to allow our customers to opt out? You do need to have an option to opt out just legally, right? On
mhm.
both your emails, on text messages. It's basically going to it's going to direct folks to a preference center, and they're going to be able to define the kind of contact that they want with you, right? So they could say, I'm interested in receiving your sales promotions, but maybe don't include me in the events, notifications. I live out of the country, right? So not so interested in those. Don't text me, but do send me email newsletters, things like that. So it's very easy to configure. It will differ, obviously, based on like your individual use cases, but very easy to set up consent and people are able to go in and change that then also at any time. So just because I want to receive your text today, I might not want to receive them tomorrow, or I might want to go in and say, okay, now I do want to receive your texts, right? And flip that back on. So pretty easy to configure.
I've definitely been in the camp where I signed up for some sort of materials and then realized quickly I made a huge error and
Yeah.
need to turn it off. It's good that Microsoft allows that.
Yeah. Also, a good point to think about when we're talking in our maybe next video about our building actually our journeys out, like building our customer journeys, our marketing campaigns, thinking about best practices for how often we want to reach out to our prospects or our customers and like making the most of those interactions and not just, sending out a text every day just to say hi. It's probably going to get a lot more folks bumping you off the text consent than if we're making sure that we're really targeting, people when they want to hear from us and how.
It's a fine line between
Yeah.
not enough and way too much.
Yeah, very true. The last thing that I want to say about channels here, you can see down at the bottom, we won't cover this in that much detail today, but I did just want to kind of point it out. You can also set up custom channels. So this would be for things like if we wanted to set up a custom channel where I send out like a Telegram channel, basically, or Discord. So you're able to set up these custom channels almost like a third party integration, but much easier to set up. And that feature has been rolled out and updated pretty frequently. So I'm hoping that it'll get some more additions in here as far as our channels go. But that's a really nice one too. So if you reach your customers most often in other areas that are not, emails, push notifications, or text messages, you are able to build some additional channels out there.
Is one of those channels Teams? Because I know for us, our customers are hooked into us through Teams. And so could we push out notifications that way?
I have not tried that before, but that would be an interesting. Maybe we could do a test run of seeing how to integrate Teams with these channels and maybe come back with a second video to see how
Yeah.
that goes. I think it's
Save that one for a future video. But it's really cool that you can integrate with other channels. And I have to imagine, based on what you said, if they don't integrate with Teams right now, if this doesn't integrate with Teams right now, it's got to be coming
yeah,
because everybody under the sun is using Teams these days.
yeah, exactly. I'd say that that's probably a good one that if it is not included in a future release, I would be surprised. But
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, so do you want to dive into emails in particular?
yeah, let's take a quick look at our emails. Like I said, that's probably, at least in the beginning, going to be the bulk of the content that we're working on building out in Customer Insights. So you see, this is a brand new, it's a demo environment. We don't have a ton of emails created. So our emails view here is going to be pretty empty, but just like everywhere else in D365 Sales, other Dynamics apps, you can create custom views here to sort. So I could say like all of my new product emails, all of my newsletter emails. You can sort, slice and dice your different data in here. We're just going to stick with all emails for now, but I do like to point that out also. So
Yeah, I mean, I could see that
yeah,
once people start using these things, you're going to have like promo code emails and
yeah.
new product releases and things like that. So that makes a lot of sense.
1,000%. And you can create different, again, this is customizable in the back end, just like every area of Dynamics, every Dynamics app is. So if you wanted to have like an email type that you use to sort these, that's something I would usually suggest, just given the fact that there will be probably very quickly a lot of emails in here. And it can get to be a lot when you're thinking about, oh, that email that we sent out last year, I'd like to use that one as a template, to kind of set out my new email. I really like this one. This will make your sorting a lot easier, as well as having good naming conventions kind of right off the bat.
Makes sense. And we have a whole video on creating lists, I believe. So people
Yes.
should check out our channel and find that video if they want to know more information. But okay, so we don't have any emails. So
Nope.
let's create our first email template. Let's
Let's
walk
do
through
it.
this
We're
process.
going to go up at the top. I'm just going to say new email. And one of the things that I love about the Customer Insights Journeys app is they have just templates galore. So there's a template for everything. You can see it's going to pop up these initial options for me. Just scroll through quickly, but some really nice templates that are already all kind of set up, formatted for us. As you're building out your own email library, you can also create custom templates. So if I really like the look of a certain email, once I've gone in and kind of customized my branding, my colors, my logo, added all those things, I can create a custom template. So I only have to make those changes once, and then I'm able to just continuously reuse that email to build out my content library. So
That
very,
makes a
very
lot of sense.
nice.
I have to imagine most companies that use this would eventually start going to the custom templates
Yeah.
because they'll have their own brand guidelines and kind of layouts that they prefer and want people to stick to.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's also nice because you can lock templates down to a specific security role. So, for instance, if I'm a marketing manager and I want to build out a template that I want everybody to use that has our branding, our preferred fonts, our logo placed in exactly the right area, our header, I can create that template and then I can lock it so that the template itself cannot be edited by my marketing team by accident. If they go in and accidentally like delete my link to Facebook, or if they delete my logo, I don't want that template messed up for everybody. So you can control that with security privileges as well, which is pretty nice.
That's awesome. That happens a lot, even on the sales side, where you want to give people access to the standard things, but you don't want them to go and accidentally tweet. Accidentally is a very nice way of saying it. Accidentally making a mistake and deleting some important graphic or something.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have to reverse engineer the original template. So yeah, there's some great security settings, sorry, around these things that we definitely would suggest, especially if you're going to roll something out to the team for the first time. Just making sure you've got some like training wheels or some bumpers around it is pretty helpful.
Yeah. And then just real quickly, I noticed that there's a favorites that makes sense. Like if
Yeah.
there's ones that you go to over and over again, if you have a huge library to choose from of custom templates, you can just say, hey, these are my 3 favorite go-tos because I just like the way they pop.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say too, you bring up an interesting point about sales teams because we're talking a lot about marketing. We're using the marketing app, right? Customer Insights Journeys, and we're focusing a lot on the fact that people want to do like marketing campaigns,
Mhm.
obviously. But this is also a great tool for sales teams because just like I can in Dynamics, I can create custom email templates where I want to reach out to my existing customers, not just prospects. You can do the same thing here. So you could have templates that are set up for marketing. You could have templates that are set up for sales, accounts receivable. Really, the app is just a tool. How you use it is really going to depend on your internal processes.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, so enough preamble. Maybe
Yes,
let's go and
let's go in and
build
create
an
our
email.
email.
How easy is this? I mean, it looks like it's going to be easy, but
It is. It's easy. It's as easy as you'd like it to be, I'll say. So I'm going to make it a little more difficult for us by not selecting one of these templates off the bat. I am going to skip and actually show you what it looks like if we just started from scratch.
okay.
So you can see here, I have a couple of things. The first thing that I like to do, the second that I create an email, is retitle it because email one, not a great look, right? In our view that we were looking at earlier. So I'm
Probably
going to
hard to find if everything says email one.
yeah, a little hard to find if everything says email one. So the first thing that I want to do is just say, I'm going to call this our get started
Perfect.
email, new lead email. And I'll say 2024, whatever. So little naming practices for me. I'll go ahead and just save that right off the bat so that I have an email created. If I want to come back and edit it in a bit, it's here. I'll know where to find it. First off, you can see here our from. So this is actually going to be set when you set up your environment. Ours is super ugly right now because, again, it's just a demo test environment. But I could set this up to be from info@Azamba or welcome from Azamba or Peter Wolf at Azamba as a default. And then I also have the option, we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but there's some great options for personalization when it comes to these templates as well. So for instance, if this email was targeting like my existing customers, I could say, okay, show me the owner. So like the salesperson who works with this account. And maybe I want this email to be, depending on which account you are, who your salesperson is, I want that email to come from your sales team. So like Peter handles the Northwest region. This email is going to go to all accounts that are in the Northwest region from Peter. And if I handle Southeast, everybody who gets this email it's going to come from me. So that's
So
a
it will
nice feature as
know
well.
based on who the owner of the record is that you're sending this to. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. So if the field exists in your CRM, if it exists in Dynamics anywhere, you can use it to personalize your content, not just your content as far as like, hi, Peter, thanks for reaching out, but also who the email comes from, who the reply to is, and even the content inside, which we'll take a look at as well.
I have to imagine that's super important because, like, if I see emails from admin at Microsoft, that's less important to me than Susan at Microsoft, who I know.
Exactly. So it's really easy. So if I just run through like a quick example, this little icon here, I'm not sure how well you can see it on your screen, but it's a nice little lightning bolt. Lets us know about our personalization. So here I could literally say, I'm just going to click it. It's going to give me, that's how I know it's going to be custom content. I'm going to say new dynamic text here, and I'm going to look at the owner. We're going to say on the contact record. So if it's an existing contact or if it's a lead record, I'm going to say contact because that's what we have set up in our system. And I am just going to say, just search here quickly for the owner.
And I want to say, while this is popping up, obviously Bryn has done this many times and she knows what she's doing. So it's going to look easy when she does it. I know a lot of times customers will try to do this on their own and they struggle, but we're here for you. So if you need any help, you can just reach out or comment on the video, hit us up on LinkedIn. We're happy to help get you on your way.
Yeah, exactly. So say this would show for anybody, right, like who the actual owner is. I can also put in a default value. So if I don't have an owner, which would never happen, but if I didn't have an owner set up, I could just say from Azamba team, so you can give it something to fall back on in case there's not data in a field. So just go ahead and save it. It's going to give me that. And then when my email goes out, it's going to be from whoever owns my account. I could do the same thing here with the email. So it looks like it's coming from pwolf@azamba.com, even if they're all coming back to our, info@Azamba email address. So very cool. All right. So that's our from. Very important, right? Because you are, as you said, like much more likely to interact with an email if it comes from Peter, who I know, versus info@Azamba might be a little harder of a sell.
Yeah.
So for subject, it's your email subject. It's not that hard. So I would just say, I'm going to say.
There are people who devote their whole careers to creating beautiful subject lines.
That's true.
You just dismissed them all.
I am not at all.
A callous comment, like it's not that hard. That's well, I'm as a marketing person, I'm hurt.
What your subject is, for sure, could be a study. There have been whole books written about it, right? But I think we're all familiar with what a subject is because we've all seen emails. So for ours, I'm going to keep it really simple, and I'm just going to say, welcome. Let's get started. So I can add a little.
I see the little lightning bolt, and you don't need to go into it, but I'm assuming you can add fields. So it could be like, welcome, Peter, or welcome, Bryn. So you could probably pop data in there from the actual record.
Oh, yes, exactly. So anywhere that you're seeing this little guy with the lightning bolt means that I can add personalized content. So if you'll see it here in the subject area, you'll see it preview text is that little strip of text that shows up in your email, like the preview. If you're using Gmail or Outlook or whatever it is, you can customize this as well. And then actually in your email body, you'll see this again, where I'm able to kind of pull in different content depending on who I'm talking to.
Very cool.
Yes, pretty nice.
O- Okay, so that's like kind of the header and the preamble. So
Hmm.
now we want to build this out. One thing I noticed right away is there's the copyright at the bottom. So can you
Yes.
change that boilerplate so it's the company, so like it's always correct and says copyright Azamba, not Microsoft?
Yes, you can. So yes and no. So there's a couple elements here that are always going to be required to send an email out of marketing. The first is this company address. That's just a legal designation, right? You need to have your company address. You can see that's customized as well. So that's going to pull from my marketing settings, my Azamba company address. It would pull, ABC company, it's going to pull theirs. It's
Hmm.
going to pull that directly from the marketing settings. The other thing that you always need here is this option too, and I'll get off of it so you can see it there. Unsubscribe. So that's when we
Yeah.
were talking about our consent earlier. It's going to direct
Hmm.
to those unsubscribe options, or hopefully not unsubscribe, but choosing your preferences rather
Hmm.
than just unsubscribing blanket. But good point. So yeah, this 2024 Microsoft Dynamics, we can definitely change that. You can cut it right out. You can add your own information down here. You could add a link to your social media accounts, website, whatever you like, right in there. It's definitely customizable.
Perfect.
Another thing that I'll say about this too, going back to our earlier conversation about security, is that you can lock specific content blocks. So I could say the only person who is allowed to edit this area is a customer service manager or a marketing manager. That's an important one to lock down because again, it'll affect the deliver. It won't send an email if you're missing an unsubscribe or a company address
Good
there.
to know. It makes sense. I mean, those are
Yeah.
all laws. They want to protect
Yeah.
you and probably protect themselves from you sending out emails without unsubscribe options.
Yes. And I will say, not a lawyer, obviously, but definitely something you want to be aware of when you're sending out communications to anybody, and especially also like text messages that you're
Mm.
working within the confines that are legal where you are. So that might be different in the US versus like the UK. It might be different in Canada. So really just making sure that you're operating within those confines is very important just generally.
I mean, on the text messages, I think it's super important that people
Yeah.
have some way to stop getting text messages because otherwise on the phone itself, you can report something as spam and junk
Yes.
really easily. So you want to make sure that you respect your recipient's desires so that they don't just report you as junk because that might
Mhm.
cause you problems down the road.
Exactly, which will not happen to us, obviously, because we are setting up everything up correctly. But if you do have questions about that, you can obviously always reach out to us or your team internally. A lot of times we'll have some information about what's legal in your area. So, but for our purposes today, we're going to keep it really simple. You can see over here on the right hand side, very like low to no code as far as like
Mhm.
actually building our email template. It's drag and drop, right? So we've got.
Mm.
I can add some text. I got my text box. I'm just going to paste in my
Yeah.
text from hi, thanks for exploring. It's not the best email probably I've ever
No, it's just an
seen.
example though. This is great.
So I'm just going to paste in some text here and make it look a
And
little
as
nicer.
you said earlier, I'm just going to highlight this
Yeah.
real quickly. You can already see that Bryn's got a high first name in there, and you can put any fields that are on the records in here. So you can really control and customize this. As you'd imagine, this is not like some revolutionary feature, to be honest. It's
No.
just want to make sure everyone knows that yes, you can do that.
So I'm literally just going to pull in the first name
Perfect.
from my contact record or my lead. I'm going to use contact because that's where I'm pulling from. Hi, first name. And then it'll look different depending on what the record says. So thanks for joining Azamba Manufacturing. We're excited to have you with us. We've got a couple of different options. I could link these to links that would also have link tracking in them, which we'll look at a little bit later if we talk about metrics and reporting and things in our journeys.
It's like you read my mind. I was just about to ask if I put a link in here,
Yeah.
can I see if people actually click the link? So you can. That's great.
You sure can. Yeah, you won't be able to see it today because we'll have to actually send it out, obviously, and have some interactions with it. But I'm just going to put in like a sample link here right now. And you can link to
Perfect.
different things, right? So I could link to an event. I could link to a Teams meeting for an
Huh.
invite. I've got some different options here, a file, a video.
Sorry to interrupt you. The video, would that go to a YouTube channel or would it go to wherever? I assume it's a URL, right? It's not, you don't embed a video in an email. That'd be too big of an email, I would think, to send out.
You could choose a file. So this is a new feature too. It'll let you actually attach a video file. But you don't want your like to your point, right? We don't want it to be too large. What a lot of people will do is actually use the URL option anyway, and then have that link to like a Vimeo or your YouTube channel or something, so that you're getting metrics in two places. You're getting them from your email, and then also you're getting those recorded views and things on YouTube.
Just to clarify, because I think I understand what you said,
Yep.
but this seems mind-boggling to me. You could
Mhm.
actually embed a video into the email itself.
You could, yes. Yeah.
Wow.
And we've had
That
customers that
seems
have. Yeah.
wow, it just seems like that'd be a huge email to get.
I
Well, it is what it is. It's good to have options, and
Yes.
yeah,
And whether or not we
perfect.
use it, we could maybe walk through like a test example for a future video if people are interested in what that looks like. But I think what would most likely happen is it'll give you that when you send your email out, it'll hide the content unless you say, yes, I'd like to see it. But things like that can also affect deliverability. So I think for the most
Mhm.
part, we would suggest like just use the URL to link to a video. And then you get the metrics in two places. You can get an extra YouTube or Vimeo view out of it. And you're also able to obviously track it in your email. So,
Perfect.
all
Okay, well,
right.
seems pretty darn easy so
Yeah.
far. And like I said before, this isn't revolutionary, but it's
No.
what's nice here is that Microsoft has put this all in the same place as your sales data. So because marketing integrates with sales so well, everything flows together so nicely. And it's good to know that it has these core features that most marketing people will want to use.
Mhm. Exactly. And for text, I mean, again, we just did a very simple option, but you've got like every option that you have in Word basically is available here in your Outlook. So you can do formatting, you can set your text, your font options to be different sizes, things like that. You also do have the option over here on the side. Like, let's look at a couple of these other elements to drag in images that you can either pull from an image library, which we have not talked about yet, but it's basically like the ultimate resource for all of your marketing materials. So I don't have to ask Peter, like, hey, Peter, do you have that logo? Could you send that to me in an email so that I could add it to our email? I would just have Peter add that logo to my asset library so that I always have it available within my marketing app, which is also
I
nice.
mean, that makes a lot of sense. And of course, if you do that all the time, you'd probably just set up an email template that you'd pick from. So if you have like a
Yeah.
banner at the top, you even though you're showing us the whole kind of like build it from scratch, you'd probably have a template that had the banner already ready to go and
Yeah,
maybe a call to action at the
exactly.
bottom. So you can add images
Mm,
in, but what really caught my eye over there is the button.
yes.
What does the button do?
What doesn't the button do? So I'm going to add a new button here. Pretty customizable too. It looks pretty sad. Just right off the bat. It's a fine button.
Yeah,
It's a sad little button. But I could have that link to a URL. It can do everything basically that our link option does down here. It's just like a nicer way of presenting it with a button. So again, we could run through a bunch more of these options maybe on another call. But if I wanted to have like a file to download, usually it's going to be URL based. Or if you're using customer insights journeys for your event management, it could direct to like a event registration page, things like that. But most of the time, you're going to be selecting a URL for a button.
that makes sense. That is really cool.
Yeah.
And does it I assume because it tracked with the links, what I'm hearing you say is this is no different than a link really, it's just a button format. So it will also track how many people click this?
It will, yeah. So I can say, click here to learn more. I could customize that text however I want it to look. And yes, in my actual email reporting metrics, which we can look at in the future after we've built our journey out, I can see how many people have clicked this button, if they clicked it just the one time when they opened the email, if they went back and clicked it again. It's got some really great reporting attached to it as well.
That's fascinating. This is just so good, all the different options here, and Microsoft has made it really easy to do these things. So even if you don't
Yes.
have a huge marketing team, you could build these things. And like we were saying before, once you build it once, you could probably just have a template and then just go in and change the specific elements. So maybe the button says click here to learn more this time, but
Mhm.
maybe the next time it's save 30% now or
Yes.
something like that.
Exactly. And these can be really nice as well for just, I can drag drop this around and place it somewhere else, but you can create as many buttons as you like. They are very, like I said, low code, no code. You don't need to know any kind of scripting to create a button. I don't need to know HTML. I don't need to do any JavaScript on here anywhere. It's all very, very easy for people with no real development background to be able to come in here and make some pretty advanced customizations, which is very cool.
Yeah, this is amazing. Now, is there anything else that you want to show about emails?
Yeah, let's take a quick look at there's some different options here on the side that we'll take a quick look at. So content blocks would be for if there are specific blocks of content that I send out a lot. So if I am going to use, say, these three guys here, this explore, connect, and engage. If I could potentially be using that across like multiple emails or multiple different times that I'm sending that out, I could save that as a block. So it's almost like a template just for content. So it's not an entire email template, but it would be I save this little chunk and then I can use it in future emails, future content, all that kind of stuff, just for right here from my content block menu. I don't have any saved here, but you would see them pop up on the
No,
side.
this makes a lot of sense because like a lot of times when I send out emails,
Yeah.
I'll talk about a product that we offer, and I'll have to just retype all that I know
Yes.
off the top of my head from the last
Yeah.
time I typed it. But having a content block will just expedite all that and make sure that the entire team is keeping consistent with the language that the marketing team has decided that we should be using to describe our products and services.
Exactly. And especially that point about making sure that the marketing team wants you to describe, these are also, you could lock them, right? So if you're somebody who's going into your email all the time and being like, I just said this to somebody else, let me copy it, paste it in this email. This is basically serving that purpose for you. So instead of having to go back to your email, remember what you said, find that email, copy it, paste it. It's just saved here for you to use again in a future conversation. And if marketing wants to kind of lock down, or the sales team, whoever wants to lock down like what that content is, you can control that with a security profile as well.
Very cool. What
So
else you got to show?
content ideas is, I'm going to keep this one short, but it is probably one of my favorite things about customer insights journeys. This is part of Microsoft's generative AI. So you can see it's already popping up. It's kind of like Copilot within customer insights journeys, but it's going to learn by the amount of the emails that we send. So the more emails I create, the more emails I send out, the more access to my data that it has. It's going to learn my brand voice. It's going to learn the kind of things that I'm talking about, and it's going to be able to suggest email content based on, what I'm interested in saying to my customers. So this is very cool. It's giving me the warning right now. It might be incorrect in the beginning before I've like sent any kind of sample emails or communications out to my customer. It might not be that good, but I can go ahead and select what kind of tone of voice do I want to have? Am I casual? Is it a luxury item? Do I want to engage my users? So you get some really nice options here for customizing content that can really help boost your marketing team's productivity, right? This isn't meant to replace them necessarily. It's just about kind of giving people that extra boost to kind of give you some ideas for some content to reach out to your customers with.
I think it's cool because I think a lot of marketing teams right now are going over to ChatGPT to do this. So
Yes,
basically, it's embedding that process in here to provide you those ideas without having to go to a separate tool.
exactly. And so for us right now, it's not giving me too much, but you could go ahead and build these out and just say, like, what am I looking to build out? Give it some information, add a couple additional key points, things I want to make sure that it covers in the email, select your tone of voice. It's really fun. So I highly suggest playing around with that, at least just kind of get the feel of it. And it does, honestly, it comes up with some really good recommendations, just like a ChatGPT or Copilot would in Outlook. So very cool. Other
Awesome.
options here, personalize. We've been through this one. So it's going to just show me everywhere that I have personalized text so far, anywhere that I've got that plugged in. I can also set some different conditions on content. So for instance, if I wanted to control the email text, and if I wanted to say, everybody in Illinois gets a certain version of this email, but everybody in California would get a different version of this text. You can set up conditions based on different rules in your email to control what the email actually looks like for your audience without having to come up with 10 different emails, right? You can just include those conditions for what I would want changed depending on my audience in one actual email that I would have all the reporting on in one place.
That's really good. I'm going to just throw out a use case that I can see
Please.
that a
Yeah.
lot of people will use. Like if you have prospects at different stages of
Yeah.
discovery, so like if someone's like an early stage unqualified lead versus they've been qualified, you would have different messages and maybe even different calls to action depending on where they are in their journey with you. So that's really cool. I
Yeah.
like that a lot.
One really good use case that we just worked through with a customer was they have an annual conference. And so their speakers have different information or different files, things that they have to get over to them prior to the conference. So, like, what is the name of my presentation? Who's going to be presenting? If I've registered if I've reserved my hotel room, stuff like that. So they had one email that they would send out to everybody. But depending on your event registration record, what you had done, it's not going to ask you to repeat steps. So if I've already reserved my hotel room, it's not going to say, make sure you reserve your hotel room, click here. But if I haven't,
That's
it's going to show up there for me. So very
that's
nice.
so huge. I get so tired of these emails that are like
Yeah.
these generic emails, and it makes me question, well, didn't I already do that?
Yeah.
And so then you go check and you feel like you just had your time wasted. Like that
Yes.
is huge. Like that's a small little example of how you can just treat your audience with more respect and not waste their time. So
Yeah.
that's really a cool feature.
Definitely. And it's really going to help too with people finding your email, your content useful. Because to your point, if I open it up and it's reminding me of all these things I've already done, the next time I get an email from you, I might just like skip right over it because it's probably, I'm going to feel like it's less relevant because I can't trust it. Right. So it is really nice to be able to have the option to just set up a single email for everybody. Because again, rather than having 8 different versions of those emails, one is for people who have registered, one is for people who have not. You can control all of that content in one email. So all of my reporting, all of my metrics, I only have to build one journey. You're cutting down on a whole lot of labor as well on your own side. So very nice.
Sounds like a win-win.
Yeah,
All right,
win,
cool.
win, win. Theme, pretty self-explanatory. So this is going to control like my background colors. I can put in my brand profile, things like our logo image or our theme colors, what our different text styles look like, what do our buttons look like, custom fonts you can add in here as well. So there's a lot that you can do here just thematically, which again, not reinventing the wheel, but very nice and important to have when you're talking about customizing your email to reflect your brand content.
Perfect.
Settings as well. This is just going back to like, who does this email come from? Where does it go? And some different options for text as well. So that's really it. Some other nice options that you have in here are the option to preview. So you can preview what this email is going to look like on different devices. There's also a litmus preview that is optional that you can turn on in here that's going to show you what it would look like on different email clients. So what does my email look like in Gmail versus Outlook versus what? Yahoo. I don't know if there's
No. Do people still
Hotmail.
use Hotmail?
Yes, my mom has a
No.
Hotmail email address.
No.
So
I was joking.
I don't know if it's gonna like go to anything, but it does still exist. So
Oh boy.
yeah, so you can preview what it's gonna look like on those different devices as well as different email clients if you enable the litmus preview. But very cool. So you can preview and test as different records. I could view like what is this going to look like to a sample customer? What is it going to look like generally? But yeah, very cool stuff as far as emails go.
This is really cool. So, Bryn, I think if we've exhausted the emails, I know
Yes.
this video has already been pretty comprehensive, and maybe we
Mhm.
save the forms and text messages for a future video because
Yeah.
just don't want to overload our poor viewers with too much
Yeah.
information. And definitely, if you are watching this, hit the subscribe. You can reach out to us at any time as well if you want more of a personalized discussion about things, but we're here to help you all. Bryn, do you have any other closing thoughts? This was really informative, just for what it's worth. I just loved it. I learned a lot here, so hopefully others did as well.
Yeah, I hope so. I think it is definitely, if you're using the Customer Insights Journey app, you're most likely going to be spending a lot of your time on emails. So I hope this was helpful. We'll get through some of the other channels later, but yeah, that's about it.
Well, thank you very much. Hope you all enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.